Welcome, folks. So many people waiting for us to start. I'm so impressed.
Very
Because who
timely.
doesn't love a midday conversation about food waste? Very exciting. Welcome, everyone. I see some familiar names. I see some new names. Nice to see people. As you come in, if you want to go ahead and drop your name and either if you're with an organization, the name of the organization and maybe where you are in the world. If you're not with an org, just where you are. Love to see who's here. Hi, Liz. Le Soup. Hello, Le Soup. Friends in Cincinnati. More Le Soup. We have a sunny day today in Pittsburgh. So for once, I'm not going to talk about how gloomy it is here and be envious of people in Florida and California. Mind you, it's still like 50 degrees outside, so it's not warm, but it's sunny. Welcome, everyone. We'll give folks a minute to hop on, to find their uh, link and hop on. Hi, Randy.
Hi, Randy. Hi, Ricky.
Folks that are just coming on, if you want to drop your name and where you are or what org you're with. Hi, Sheila. Spring is here. I noticed yesterday I was driving, I don't know where I was driving from, but I was driving from somewhere and the trees are budding here. It seems like it happens almost overnight. That switch flips and you go from all the trees are bare to that beautiful light green everywhere. Humid Arkansas.
I'm jealous of humidity.
This moment, yeah. I would like to visit all of these places that you people are.
Yeah.
All right, welcome, folks. We'll give it about one more minute before we get started. I started my morning very early today at the PNC Park, the Pirate Stadium, with our new mascot, Rudy, and making a video. So that was a fun way to start a Thursday morning. I hope everybody else is having a good Thursday morning. All right, so what time is it? 1:02. I'll give it one more minute. Yes, we're playing the Nationals this week. And I think Cleveland after that, I think is next. So if you haven't been to Pittsburgh and you ever get here and you're a baseball fan, you have to check out our ballpark. It's gorgeous.
It really is.
All right. And they are very good partners of ours as well. Okay, with that, we will go ahead and get started. Sedona, you want to take us to the next slide? Just a few reminders. If you have questions as we go, please put them in the Q&A. You can put them in the chat, but that rolls pretty quickly and those are harder to find. So if it's in the Q&A, we can definitely see it. This is being recorded, so we will send that out within the next couple of days. If you want to check on something that you saw or want to share it with anybody, it will be publicly available along with being emailed out. It will be on our website. At the end of the webinar, we will provide links to the next upcoming webinars to register for the upcoming webinars, and if you want to request a follow-up meeting for that as well. And with that, we will go ahead and get started. So today we're diverging a little bit. We're going to talk about food waste at home, and I actually want to just go off script for a minute and talk about this concept, the last frontier. Karen Plate, our designer, did a wonderful job with this webinar presentation, but the idea is that household food waste has barely budged. When you look at food waste categories, all of the other categories, and we'll talk about the composition a little bit later, but it's hardly budged. And so food waste at home really is one of the final frontiers of trying to address our massive issue with food waste going into the garbage. And this is not just about the environment for households. It kind of hits, our household budgets really hard. And with grocery prices on their way up, and what we are expecting to see in the next couple months. We just saw the price of eggs go crazy. I think they're coming back down now, but food's expensive, right? It's getting more so. So in 2023, before these numbers were even taken, the average monthly household budget was about $500 a month. If you waste 30% of the food that you bring in, that is $160 wasted monthly, or almost $2,000 a year. That is a lot of money to be throwing away. And of course, that's the equivalent of nationally of about 1 million dump trucks, which is a lot of food going into the landfill from households. Next, yeah. And of course, we're all familiar with this. Food waste is a big problem, right? It's one of the largest emitters of greenhouse gas. It's the number one material in landfill. And if we're bringing down the amount of food that's being wasted at the retail sector through food rescue, we really, really need to think about and talk about how do we bring it down at the household level, both as leaders in the industry, as a lot of folks on this call are, and as individuals as well. Um, the crazy thing is, though, that doesn't even take into account the upstream impact of food waste. So when you purchase food and instead of eating it, you throw it away, you have to buy more food, right? So all of the resources that go into producing that food that you didn't eat, that you had to, replace in your diet, is actually 92% of the total climate impact of food. And that is above and beyond what is happening in the landfill. That is the equivalent of hit the button. 42 coal-fired power plants. And so we think of coal-fired power plants as being sort of like the big ugly, the the one of the dirtiest forms of energy production out there. And we're talking about how do we get beyond coal? How do we take coal power plants offline? 42 coal-fired power plants running for a year is the upstream impact of all of the food that we waste. And it's a lot easier to stop wasting food. I mean, it's not easy, but it's easier than figuring out how we're going to move to alternative energy sources. So it's something we really can do. And it's something that we need to be super cognizant of. How do we reduce that impact and reduce our footprint personally as well as professionally? And again, equivalencies. That's a great way to think about things. 54 million cars driven for a year. 7 showers each day for everyone in the US, equivalency of water. And 120 billion lost meals, which is, again, just a tremendous waste of resources that don't need to be wasted. And here we get into thinking about that, like what is it in terms of the portion of food that's wasted. Households are the largest percent. It's 48% now. It used to be smaller. That is because we have cut down food waste at consumer facing businesses, at the manufacturing level, on farms. All of those industries have taken a lot of steps to reduce their food waste. There's a lot of room to go. We can do better, but where we haven't seen that big decrease is in our homes. And so how can we do that? So the first thing to do when you're thinking about how you personally can reduce your footprint, and that's kind of what we're talking about today, is to take a look at where household food waste is happening for you. So do an audit. Audit yourself. Keep track of what you're wasting for a week and figure out what you're wasting. And there's some categories that are really prime offenders. So people like forget about certain things and don't think about them as waste. Coffee is the one that always gets me, and it's one of the most wasted foods there is coffee, because we don't think about it. You just dump it down the drain, right? It's not going into the landfill. Same with milk. If you dump it down the sink before it's chunky, would don't dump it down when it's chunky unless you got garbage disposal. You think about, oh, well, that's not going into the landfill. That's not an issue. But again, remember that 92% of upstream impact. Um, that for me was a real light bulb moment, was realizing that coffee, which is a very resource intensive industry, right? It's really bad for birds. It's bad for our rainforests. It takes a lot of energy to ship it. All of it is shipped outside the United States, well, except for Hawaii. But even there, if you're not in Hawaii, right, it's got to be shipped over to the mainland. So all of it is very resource intensive. When you make more coffee than you need, you're basically throwing away everything that went into those. Secondly, leftovers. Leftovers is a major category of food waste. A study that was done a couple years ago found that some households were wasting as much as 12 cups of food in leftovers a week. Not coffee grounds or things that go bad, but just making more food than they eat. Produce storage, incorrect storage of produce, or over purchasing of produce can result in it going bad faster. And then date label confusion. And I think probably, hopefully, most folks on this call are well aware of, what date labels mean. And that, for example, if your milk says sell by, it's still good. That's just when the store wants the consumer to take it home so they have time to use it. But for a lot of average folks that aren't in this industry, they don't understand that and they will throw that food away. And so that is a major, major contributor to household food waste. So it's not about carelessness. It's not that households are, um, you know, just willy-nilly throwing away their food. It's oftentimes, and people believe that they should be reducing their food waste. It's about not necessarily knowing how to do it or not having a plan that will work for them and making it happen. So how do you do that? Next slide. The first thing is going back to that food waste audit that I talked about. What kind of food waster are you? Right? I will tell you, I am a zucchini waster. I am more optimistic about the amount of zucchini we are going to eat than we eat. I've gotten better, but historically there have been some zucchinis who've gone real bad in my fridge. I used to be a leftover leaver. Some people will buy in bulk, and buying in bulk, if you don't use it all, if it goes bad, is not going to actually help either your bottom line or the planet. So really kind of take a look, do an audit at home and figure out what it is that you're wasting. Track that food waste for a week or a month or however long you can manage it, and be really aware of it. And now here's something very interesting. The product whose name I'm not going to remember right now. If anybody was at Waste Expo or Refed last year and can remember the it's like a smart trash can. You put your food waste in it and it weighs it and then dehydrates it. So and then they'll either pick it up or mill. Thank you. Yes. Mill. Yes, Katie. Hi, Katie. They found that they track how much food people were throwing away, and they would send reports to them because they were seeing that those reports in real time. Their food waste actually was going down, even though the food wasn't going into a landfill and they were like disposing of it responsibly. Just knowing exactly how much they were wasting every week really helped change their behavior. So that's the first step, is kind of tracking and understanding for real what you're wasting. Next slide. Once you identify your own problem areas, then you can approach this sort of logically and figure out what is going to work for you. What's the best way to reduce your food waste? Thinking about things like your proper storage or repurposing, making sure that if you like, I'm a household of two right now. When my kids left, I was for college and for life, I was overcooking a lot. And then I found sometimes that they don't sell things in portions that make sense for two people. So I would have leftover stuff. Figuring out how to use that might be helpful. Um, and then we're going to go through some of those steps, but try the various tips and figure out what works for you. Because the number one thing I'm going to tell you is that if you try to adopt a habit that does not fit with your lifestyle or your personality or what you like to eat or how you function in the world, it will not work, right? You cannot look at what is best practices for somebody else and automatically roll that into your own life. So it's really important, number one, to understand where it is you're wasting food. And then number two, find ways to address it that are sustainable for your lifestyle and your household. Within that, uh, sort of big category, then adjust your cooking and shopping habits. Plan to use what you buy. Um, if you have to buy a lot, like a whole head of cauliflower or a whole big bag of it, do some meal planning to make sure that you're using that throughout the week. And some of it does take a little bit of brain power and figuring out, I really like cauliflower, but a whole head or even a whole bag is more than we're going to eat. What are different things I can do with it? Um, and when you go grocery shopping, make a list that includes how much you need of things or how much it's for. So example, we have here salad greens. Well, how many days are you going to eat salads? Like it's so tempting to go in and buy the big thing of salads. But if I have my meals planned out and I'm really only going to eat one or two salads a week, then I should get the smaller bag that is the equivalent of one or two salads per week. And really having that sort of intentionality when you're in the grocery store so that you're not buying just whatever, which I am super susceptible to. Sedona and I were talking earlier. I have ADHD. I am very, very susceptible to dopamine hits. And if something looks really good, I am really prone to taking it. But if I have my list in front of me and I know, like, I'm already buying a lot of produce and I know that looks good, but that does not fit into my meal plan. I need to either change the meal plan on the spot and put something back or not get that. And that is really, really helpful to me. And then, only buy what you plan. So you aren't, especially when it comes to fresh food, you aren't overbuying things that you didn't plan to buy just because they look good in the store. If you can, shopping small, shopping often, shopping local, and shopping seasonal are really great ways to make sure that you have the freshest produce, which will last the longest. If you're buying something that's been shipped from, South America that isn't in season, it's already been, cut and off the plant for at least a week by the time you get it. You've got much less time to use it versus shopping at your local farmer's market. Um, something another aside, because I took my Ritalin 5 minutes before this started, instead of a half an hour. Asparagus, if you look at what in season versus out of season produce, the climate footprint it has is crazy. Asparagus out of season has one of the largest climate footprints of any produce. I never buy out of season asparagus since I saw that. It's like if it were a bar chart, it's like all the way pegged on the right, whereas, out of season carrots might be down at the bottom, just like a wee little thing. So kind of like educating yourself about that sort of thing, understanding what the footprint of your fruits and vegetables are, so that before you even get to the question of whether you're wasting it, you are already making smart choices is super helpful. And then, buy again, I'll say it again, buying in large quantities, BOGO, going to Costco only saves you money if you use or preserve the food before it spoils, right? I am always tempted by those big things of spinach. I never eat them all. I never eat them all. So it's really like talking yourself down from buying in a big quantity just because it's cheaper per pound. Because again, if you throw it away, it really isn't. You've doubled the cost. And then only cook what you plan to eat. If you are making something, don't make so many leftovers that either you're going to be stuck eating the same thing all week if you know you're not going to do that, or you're going to end up throwing things away, or if it's not freezable. So, really being cognizant when you prep your meal about how much you're making and are you going to be able to use it all. I used to, when my wife is a big pasta eater, she loves pasta, and we eat a lot of pasta, and I would just dump in like half a box, and we always had leftover pasta, and I was throwing away so much pasta. I actually bought a measuring thing and I experimented to figure out how many scoops of pasta for just her and how many scoops of pasta if we're both eating. So like I know and I can plan, if I want leftovers, how much to put in, and it's cut down my waste, in that area dramatically. Next. Another cool way, this is not so much about food waste, but you can help mitigate food waste through your own personal consumption patterns, is to look for upcycled products. There's a lot of products more and more every day out there that are using either byproducts like the regrained, it's taking grains from, I think, beer from breweries like, might be the people that make Budweiser, whoever's in St. Louis, right? Their grains go to making high protein flours, which are used in products, or whether it's something like rind, which is very cool. Rind actually makes dried fruit with the peel on. I don't remember the statistic, but if you look at the statistics of how much is food waste is generated by peeling fruit to dry, it's insane. Or to put into whatever granola or trail mix or anything like that. It is so much. So again, being aware of those choices, making better choices as consumers to help bring down food waste overall is a really great strategy to work into how you deal with food in your household. And then once you've shopped, thinking about how you store things. So I think we've all heard the saying, one bad apple spoils the bunch. And that's because some fruits and vegetables produce a gas called ethylene. And ethylene is the gas that helps fruits and vegetables ripen quicker. So if you put anything that is not ripe next to an ethylene producer, it will ripen it quicker. That can be good if you want something to ripen up. It's a great way to do it. Seal up that bag, throw it in the bag and seal it up, and you'll get your bananas riper quicker or whatever. But it's also a great way to make sure things spoil quicker. So there's a lot of great guides out there you can find online. You can print one out, put it on your refrigerator, that'll tell you what fruits and vegetables are gas releasers and what are not, and like keep them separate. That's super important. And then secondly, what should you refrigerate? Did you know you were supposed to refrigerate apples? I did not know that. I did not know that until I did my first one of these presentations. So if you refrigerate apples, they will last longer. Put them with gas producers because they do produce that ethylene gas and will make things go bad quicker. Um, and will help you again bring down that produce food waste, which is one of the biggest categories. Next. And then think about how you're arranging your fridge. And this one is a super, super personal battle, I think, right? Because everybody is going to sort of respond differently to organizational trip tips and tricks in their refrigerator. A couple of standard recommendations are to move your take your produce out of those bins, which yes, they will keep it longer, but if it's hidden and you're letting it go to waste because it's hidden, doesn't matter if it stays fresh longer. Take your fruits and vegetables out of those and put condiments in there because people will go searching for condiments, right? Condiment is something that you remember that you need for your hot dog or your hamburger, or your french fries or whatever you need that ketchup. You're going to go looking for that, but you might not go looking for the zucchini, right? That you forgot you bought, and that's going to go bad. So that is one great tip. Another one is to use clear containers so you can see what's in those containers. Again, if you can't see it, this is especially true for those of us out there that have neurodivergent brains. If you can't see it, it doesn't exist. If you put things in clear containers, you can see what they are and you're more likely to use them before they go bad. Labels are great. You can actually get dry erase labels that you can stick on your clear container. So all of my glass Tupperware has dry erase labels on it, and I can write on what it is and the date it goes into my fridge, um, which also helps me say, oh, is that pasta from yesterday or 2 weeks ago? Am I going to kill my family if I serve that, or is that something that I should be eating for dinner? Super helpful. Um, follow the first in, first out rule. If you put something in your fridge that is perishable, make sure that you're using that on time. And again, there's a lot of tips out there. And if you go online, you can find a lot of different suggestions for how to organize your refrigerator. But what works for you? What are the things that are going to help you tackle your, areas of concern that you figured out in your food waste audit? Next. Then when it comes to produce, and this is another really good example of doing what works for you. It is whole produce stays good longer, right? As soon as you cut it, it starts to break down. You're gonna have faster spoilage. You're introducing bacteria, so there's a food safety issue at some point. It definitely is buying cut fruits and vegetables, right? Can promote food waste. However, if you're busy and you don't have time to cook and you know you're exhausted after work and you really ambitious plans for dinner only come together, one out of every 2 nights, then maybe buying those whole fruits and vegetables isn't going to help because it's going to really deter you from using it. So really, again, analyzing what works for you. I will tell you, I usually buy whole, but butternut squash is one of those things that I buy cut. I hate to break down a butternut squash. I cannot tell you how many butternut squashes I've wasted in my lifetime because I love it and I buy a whole one and then I look at it and I think, ugh, they're so hard to peel. It's so hard to cut that up. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go with something easier. So that is something that I will actually buy pre-cut. But most other things I will buy whole because I like cooking and I know it will last a little bit longer. And you know, every other night, every 3 nights, I'm just tired. I don't want to cut stuff when it comes to dinner. All right, next. When you do cut things, if you store them correctly, it will help promote longer life. The one on the right is really interesting. Lettuce and other greens will stay fresh longer with CO2. So I have a soda stream. Uh, I make my own seltzer at home, and you can just put a little puff of that into the bag and then close it up, and your greens will stay fresher longer. Which is why when you get, like, if you get a tub of spinach or lettuce and it stays, and you look at it and you're like, oh, I forgot that was there, and it's still fresh because you haven't opened it and it's got CO2 in the package. As soon as you open it, you start the process, it's going to degrade quicker. But you can replicate that with a soda stream. Things like carrots, celery, cucumbers, even potatoes, you can store in water and they will stay fresher longer. You still need to use them. They are going to eventually go bad, of course, but knowing how to store your fruits and vegetables once they've been cut will help get you a little bit more life out of it. So that kind of toes the line between that, should you pre-cut or not pre-cut. Um, when you cut them, make sure if you're going to store them, especially you wash them thoroughly because you are introducing bacteria potentially into them when you cut them. So make sure they're clean. Limit the time out of refrigerator. Don't take out a bunch of stuff and cut it to cut and store. Take it out one thing at a time, cut it up and put it away. Um, Practice makes perfect. It can be really tempting to just cut every single carrot in the bag, but if you're not going to use all the carrots, they're going to stay fresher longer if they're whole. Only cut what you need for the week and kind of play around with that. Of course, planning your dinners out ahead of time, your lunches, figuring out how you're going to use your stuff is always, always, always going to be important. Look at how you're storing stuff. Check for spoilage. If you have a bag of apples and you throw it in the fridge, even if you're not going to use it, and apples in the fridge last a long time, even if you're not going to use it right away, take a peek at it every couple days. Make sure there's none in there that are bad. It will spoil the whole bunch. Same thing with fruit. And then, clean out your fridge once a week and be honest, eat it or toss it. If you leave it in there, you're just creating more chaos in your refrigerator, which is going to lead other things to go bad. It's like they get in there and they all start whispering and having a party about how they're all going to go bad. So make sure you clean out your fridge and if you can eat it, have clean out the fridge dinner once a week. And if not, just throw it away. Don't worry about it. Like, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Um, and I will say, when you waste food, because you're going to waste food, don't beat yourself up about it. We all waste food. Just it happened. Maybe think about why it happened. Is there something that you could have done differently? Maybe not. Maybe it just, things, your week got out of hand and there was nothing you could do about it. But don't let that throw you off because a lot of times what can happen is, you know, and this is true for everything. You make a resolution, you're like, I'm going to go to the gym 7 days a week. And you go once, you're like, oh, well, I guess I'm not going to the gym anymore because I broke that resolution. Don't let that happen with food waste. Just consistently trying to do better today than you did yesterday or tomorrow than you did today. And we will start to chip away at that huge amount of food that we're all throwing away. And then finally, I think this is the next slide. Nope. Oh, this is a fun one. This is my favorite tip for reducing food waste is there's a lot of really fun things you can do with uh, parts of the especially produce that you wouldn't normally use. So that can help you get sort of more out of what you have. So beet stem saute, for example, and carrot top pesto, broccoli stem hummus. I actually really love broccoli stems more than I like the floury part. It's a texture thing. But there's so much fun stuff out there on how to use different parts of your produce to make to cook with that you would never think of. And that part is fun. And that is also really helpful because life should be fun. Food should be fun. Cooking should be fun. We all love food waste. We all love food. We all love reducing food waste. We all love sustainable habits. Make it fun. Play with it. Figure out what you can do to preserve things that you would normally throw away. My absolute favorite uh, uh, food that you would never think would be a food is watermelon rind, pickled watermelon rind. You just peel off the green part and the rest of the watermelon rind, that white part, is so delicious pickled. If you haven't had it, I highly recommend it. It's sweet. It's like candy. It's delicious. So, um, let yourself have some fun with it. But then, when you do have food waste, when you do inevitably end up having more than you're going to use or something goes bad, skip the landfill, compost it. And I think I saw that come across the chat. Have a home compost bin. You don't even have to use it, right? You don't even have to garden with it, but you're at least it is not going to a landfill and creating a lot of CO2. I will tell you, this is my own little funny story. Don't do this if you live in a city because it might cause problems, but we moved out sort of into the country last year, and I was so excited that I would have I would have compost, and I was composting things, and I went out to put something in there last year, and it was empty. There was nothing in it. It's like, what happened? And I found a little trail. We have a raccoon. He was treating my compost as an all-you-can-eat buffet, and it kind of discouraged me at first. I was like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't compost. I'm like, so what? I'm feeding the raccoon. It's still better than the landfill. So we have a very fat and very happy raccoon. And though I try not to throw away food, he does still eat fairly well. Um, and again, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that in the city because you'll get a lot more pests than just a fat raccoon. But the point is, do what you can to keep it out of the landfill. A home compost is a great way, even if you're not going to use the compost for a garden or something like that. And this we do this every day in the work that we do. We work to better ourselves and the rest of humanity. Love that little Star Trek quote there. Um, but that is to me super relevant to how I think about my day. So what can we do to be softer on the earth every day? And we don't have to be perfect, just try to be softer. And bringing down our own household food waste is a great way to do that. With that, I will check and see if we've got questions. I see a ton of things in the chat, and I think a lot of that is probably just the great conversation that you guys were having, and I can't wait to take a look at that. Pig farmer. Yeah. Uh, so Liz mentioned that her nonprofit works with pig farmers, and we do that at our flagship operation in Pittsburgh, 4 and 2 Food Rescue. We work with a lot of animal nonprofits, everything from farm sanctuaries to pig farmers, even for-profit pig farmers, because it's better than it going to a landfill, as well as with composters and biodigesters. And so while we can't all take our personal household waste to a local pig farm, we can compost it and find things to do with it. Next week for our How to Start a Food Rescue webinar, we're going to be talking about expanding your distribution network, your nonprofit distribution network with Michelle Sandage from the Pittsburgh Housing Authority. She is fantastic and has so many great stories about the impact of food recovery in her community. So that is going to be a really great webinar. With that, I will take a look at the questions. Recently traveling with a small RV refrigerator that froze my lettuce made me wonder, do you think that older refrigerators with fewer features to maintain separate zones and or diminishing ability to maintain desired temperature is a large factor in household waste? Absolutely. Love that. I don't know if there's been any research on that. I know that there are a number of university students and professionals that are looking into household food waste and researching how to impact behavior and what are the best ways to reduce it. But I'm not sure anyone's looked at that specifically. But I suspect that yes. Um, if you have an older refrigerator, it is probably not going to be as helpful at making sure that your food is maintained at the proper temperature and, like you said, in the proper zone to prevent food waste. If you remove the fridge drawers, then you have cubbies instead. Is that the idea? Yeah, I think there's a couple different ways I've seen folks do this. The picture that we had up was a drawer with the drawer was still in there, but the produce was taken out, and instead the condiments were in there, so you could put the produce in the maybe the shelf doors or door shelves or on the shelf, whatever. That's one way to do it. But I have also seen people recommend just taking it out and then they use those cubbies for things like those like clear plastic containers or glass containers that stack neatly. You could stack those in there, and if they're labeled, you could see. The idea is that, again, out of sight, out of mind. And I think for a lot of people, not everybody, but for a lot of people, if you can't see what's in your fridge, you're much more likely to use it. Uh, Not use it, waste it. Um, I'm just scrolling through to see, were there any other questions that I missed that were in the chat?
No questions. A lot of really good conversation though.
Oh, this is amazing. Yeah. I see that apples only need to be refrigerated if their pesticide coating is removed. Cooling them does extend shelf life. Yeah. Would that also work for organic apples if they don't have a pesticide coating? I don't know. I don't know that much about apple growing. Um, yes. So if you're buying organic apples as well, that's a great way to do it. Um, Somebody else has eaten watermelon rind. Yes, absolutely. Here's another great tip for juicers. Pulp can be mixed with water and seasoning to make a good veggie broth. You can also, uh, I think you can dehydrate it to make fruit leather. I know I've done that with tomato pulp. I've made fruit leather out of that, which is, by the way, delicious. Tomato fruit leather, really good. So if you like savory fruit leather, that would be something you can do. Preserving can be a lot of fun. There's a lot of great creative ways to do things. You can make pickle chips out of cucumbers or zucchinis. That's delicious. Lots of fun stuff. Uh, if nobody has any other questions, I'll give you a second. I am going to plug our webinar next month. We're going to talk about advanced data, increasing efficiency without increasing your payroll. Sean Hudson is the director of data and analytics. He is so great at helping us think through how we can take the data that we have and understand what the implications are for our operations and how we can be more efficient, effective, and impactful. Um, does anyone have a resource to share about the environmental impact of crops grown locally versus out of season by food? I have it. I don't know where I got it, Katie. I will see if I can find that and send that out with the webinar as well. The impact of asparagus has just stuck with me because it was so crazy. And I love asparagus, but I will not eat it out of season anymore. It is horrific on the environment. Really, really bad. Because I think because it has to be flown in, it can't be like put on a ship. It's got to be airlifted. It's got to come in via cargo planes. So it's got a really heavy footprint. All right, any other questions before we wrap up for the day? All right, we also have our online food rescue conference is happening in October. If you have something new and innovative and exciting to share with the food recovery community, we would love to see your proposals for speakers. We are excited to bring you new and fun ideas in food recovery. Thank you so much, everybody. I can't wait to go back through this chat and see everyone's recommendations and tips. Um, Jenna, it's online. It's totally virtual, our conference. I appreciate this community so much, and thank you. Happy Earth Day. Everyone have a great Earth weekend. I hope you get to celebrate outside doing something fun.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks, everyone.